Brock Lesnar comes out and retires. And as a fan, as much as I will fully acknowledge he did not belong in a world title fight, it's still Brock Lesnar, man. There's still something to see there. And I still waited a year to see it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really buy too much into it. You know, the hype is all fun and games for me. I enjoy it, but really, I love the sporting aspect of it. So I wasn't even too upset about it. I was more upset for DC. You know, I think that type of payday and that type of cash grab that they was throwing at him, a guy like DC definitely deserved it. For Brock not to be able to do it, it's a little disappointing for him. From a sporting aspect, I ain't even too. You know, I don't take nothing from it, you know. I would like to see the UFC get back to the real competition. Like you said, the man didn't deserve to be in a world title fight, so let's not go ahead and give it to him then.
Well, but what do we make of this? Like, I mean, is this just straight up, there's nothing to see here? Brock just said, hey, you know what, Dana? I've decided to retire. And I'll tell you why that's a little bit tough for me. First off, anything Brock does, we're always going to question. I mean, that's just what happens when you spend 20 years in the wrestling business where you are fooling and disguising and look at this hand so you don't see what this hand's doing. Some of that's going to be there. But the other side of it is look at the timeline, Kevin. So he comes in, he pushes DC, that fight get announced. Everyone in the division's upset. Stipe gets pushed to the back shelf. Vince McMahon now weighs in some capacity by openly showing that Brock Lesnar's taking a smaller schedule. USADA weighs in by openly letting us know that Brock is now in compliance, did his 6 months being tested. Brock then goes into the Minnesota wrestling room, starts catching workouts with Gable Stevens. We're seeing this video, and quite frankly, it looked like he was working pretty hard. And then all of a sudden, he just says, I don't want to do it. It would just seem, for me, as a bit of a skeptic, that maybe there's something we haven't been revealed yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to that. You know, especially when you start talking about USADA and, you know, you got to go through a certain amount of testing before you even allowed to compete again. Is there something to it? I mean, I don't know. I ain't got no insight for you. You know, Brock's kind of a private guy anyway. You ain't gonna get much from him. He ain't gonna let you know nothing one way or the other. He gonna hit you with that little cold stare too. So, is it something else to it? Maybe. I mean, Dana and them might have something up their sleeve where they might bring him back after a certain amount of time or something to that. But again, for me, like just from a sporting perspective, I just don't. I don't see much to it. You know, Brock's a big guy. He's got a lot in him, but, you know, he would have just been a cash grab for a dude like DC. So, you know, I feel more upset for him.
Yeah, I see it that same way. I don't really think competitively there's a whole lot to see there, but at the same time, man, I'm going to tune in and watch it. All right, let's look at what we do have. So it looks like we got DC and Stipe part 2. For some reason, I'm more interested in part 2 than I was in part 1, only because Stipe has sat out strong and firm and swears up and down and sideways that he can beat Daniel Cormier. He's starting to make me listen. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that just goes to show, like, some of the politics in this game. You know, I was one of the ones where I'm like, me personally, I'm not going to sit out and wait for somebody else. You know, I just rather stay active, and I feel like I'm still young enough to where I'm going to be there eventually. If I feel like I'm the best guy in the world, it don't matter who they put in front of me. I'm just going to focus on what I got to do to get there. And either way, that's going to happen. But Stipe kind of showed, I mean, sometimes maybe it's worth the little wait. You know, I know Rashad Evans used to do that a long time ago, and there's a lot of guys that kind of will sit, feel like they deserve that shot, and I mean, I guess they're gonna give it to him. So he's got to make the most of it because, you know, you go. I'm not a big fan of immediate rematches against a guy that you just lost to. You know, I think you should probably have a tune-up fight in there before. I don't think historically, like, it really worked too good. You know, I don't think you really see too many guys come back and win that rematch when it's right away. So I don't know. That all that kind of add a little bit of the excitement to it and make the second part even better. It's like, you know, he got knocked out in the first round the first time. Is that going to play into his head? And it makes it for a much better fight.
Yeah, and I fully agree with you. Young fighters that watch this, do not do what Stipe did and think you're going to get the same result. I know it all worked out for him in this case, but generally that recipe of drawing your line in the stand and you against the promotion and sitting out and waiting and thinking this big fight's going to come back, generally that doesn't work. It worked for Stipe. Generally, that's a bad recipe, man. It's really what you said. You got to just stay busy. Take the chances you can get when you can get them.
Yeah, and that just go to me speaking personally. You know, I'm a competitor at the end of the day. Yeah, I like all the extra shit that comes along with this. But I'm a competitor, and I'm going to try and compete to the best that I can, and even if it's a fight like my last fight, where I wasn't by no means happy with the performance and a little bit embarrassed for myself. So, to me, it's about getting in there and doing it again and doing it again. And so what? You're going to lose sometimes or whatever. Get up, do it again. If you are what you say you are, then you're going to get back to that same guy anyway and get that rematch and get that chance again. I don't have to sit and wait on no man. I'd rather focus on myself and do what I can do. I think that's a better route to go. But if they gonna sling some money and you ain't got to fight and you can sit on, how can I argue with that?
It's a good deal if you can get it. I'm just telling people, not many of us can get it. If you look back at the history of the sport, it doesn't usually work out this way. It did for Stipe. Could it have happened to a better guy? But this is a rarity, and I'm not sure that this is the blueprint people should follow.